7900 XTX versus Black Myth Wukong at 4K. And oh boy, is this one going to be a doozy, guys. Well, okay, maybe about 50% doozy. We're going to be running this game with two different variations. The first one we're going to try here is going to be with full cinematic and using Lumen for our lighting effects in the game. The second one, the doozy I mentioned, that option we're going to run with is the full ray tracing. I have a feeling that's going to be a little bit of a fun time for the GPU to run. All right, so we are running this at a 4K resolution, 3840 by 2160p. We do have frame cap, VSync, and motion blur turned off. For graphics, we're using FSR4, so we do have FSR4 implemented into this game via OptiScaler so that our Radeon 3 card, the RX 7900 XTX, can utilize this new upscaler. Frame generation we're going to leave off for now, as well as the big daddy of the settings, full ray tracing. We'll see you later. As far as the settings themselves, we're going to keep everything at cinematic. This is, of course, a 7900 XTX. It's AMD's flagship GPU. Let's see how it can handle this game. This is an Unreal Engine 5 game. We've all seen the performance of Unreal Engine 5. We'll see how it holds up in this game. Is it going to be optimized properly, or are we going to see another bit of a mess? Let's check. Okay, we are now in the game. So again, we are running FSR4 here. Oh, actually, you know what? Let's go ahead and use OptiScaler to get that running now. All right, FSR4 has now been enabled within the game. So the 7900 XTX through FSR3's inputs is using FSR4's logic for effects. So let's take a look and see how it goes. So far, so good. So this run that we're going to do here, we're kind of mimicking the same run that the game uses with its benchmark, but us playing through it, I think it gives us a little bit more flexibility in taking a look at issues that I think the benchmark kind of skips over. So let's go in and start. So right now we're getting about 39 FPS, and again, we are using 100% native. So this is FSR4 native 4K. Everything set to cinematic. And so far, so good. Everything looks great. So this is Unreal Engine 5, and it's using Lumen to give us our lighting and shadows, and nanite as well for details. And it's a really good system. And it's software based in this game. Right now it's software based, not hardware based. And the GPU and CPU seem to be handling it in stride. We're getting in the 30s average. No flickering yet, which I guess we wouldn't expect. We're not really using any upscaling itself yet. Let's go down to the water. That's going to be a little bit harder area to run. Okay, yep, we've noticed our FPS now going down 30, actively 30, 31, 31, so not too bad. 29 now. Still feels very smooth, not noticing any flickering or anything like that. And lighting and shadows look really good, really impressive here. The grass here looks great. And the response to your character moving through it. Checking some of the lighting effects. So far, so good. Okay, all right. So we do seem to be having an issue here. I don't know if you guys can see this, but so the reflections in the water seem to disappear almost as though Lumen is expecting my character to be casting a shadow over reflections. I don't know. It doesn't seem to be, it seems to get confused with this setting. And to be honest, this is actually something I have seen before, which in my previous video, one of my previous videos on Oblivion Remastered, also an Unreal 5 engine game, it did the same thing here when looking at reflections with water. Kind of saw the same sort of issue with the way reflections get interfered with the character. But beyond that, everything else looks great. And we're getting about 33 FPS average with this run and not showing any signs of graphical issues. except for the water reflection. All right, so that's pretty good. Let's go ahead and try adjusting the settings a bit, see if we can get some more performance. All right, we are back in the settings now. So we'll go ahead and adjust some settings. We're going to leave the resolution scaling the same. So we're going to leave that at 100%, so FSR4 native 4K. But what we're actually going to do is we're going to adjust some of these settings here. So what we're going to specifically adjust are the ones that impact the system the most. Hardware Unboxed did a pretty good video on this that kind of looked at all these settings and how they impacted things. And most of the settings they kept at cinematic, but we'll apply some of the same changes that they did to get a little bit more performance out of the system. So these three we leave the same. Shadow quality we'll bring down to high. Texture quality we'll leave the same. Visual effects quality we'll leave the same. Hair quality we'll bring that to high as well. Vegetation quality same, and global illumination we'll bring to high. Last one here, reflection quality leaving untouched. All right, let's see how these settings help with our performance. So we're back in the game again here, and yeah, we are noticing a boost in performance. So originally in this area we're getting about 30, 39, 35 FPS. We're now getting 50 actively, 49 FPS actively. So that's a pretty good improvement. But you know what? I am noticing, so one of the settings that we had to turn down to high was shadow quality. And I am noticing a bit of a flatness to the shadow here. It's not as dynamic. Rock faces and stuff like that. It's kind of, some of them lost some of their shading and lighting effects that should be coming through here because there's a pretty big opening. So it shouldn't all be shadow here. And the character certainly shouldn't be in 100% shadow as well. And it's not even like full shadow, it's kind of like a flat shadow. But again, we did turn those settings down. So let's see how our run goes. So again, still FSR4 native 4K, no upscaling used yet. Looking pretty good. CPU utilization about 13% here, GPU at 99%. Take a look at the trees. Yeah, no flickering that I can see in the leaves. It's good. Let's move down to the water where again, it's a much more difficult area for the game to run. Yeah, we're noticing about 39, 40 FPS, which is still significantly better than what we were getting without reducing some of these settings. So Hardware Unboxed has some pretty good optimization settings here if you want to get higher than 30 FPS. I don't think we're going to hit 60 with those settings, but pretty good. Shadow quality in the sun looks good. Detail looks good as well, and we did not turn down texture quality. We kept texture quality at cinematic. Ground effects are still pretty good. Same with the water. Still have that issue with Unreal Engine 5 and Lumen not knowing how to handle lighting effects here. But other than that, the game ran very well. And we're getting about 46 FPS average after that run. So that was pretty good, but let's go ahead now. We're going to crank everything back up to cinematic. This is, after all, a 7900 XTX. It's the flagship, AMD flagship, right? Come on. So we'll crank it back up to cinematic, but we're going to go ahead and start using some upscaling methods and see how they work. So let's go ahead and move everything back up to cinematic. And we'll now go ahead and apply upscaling. So this doesn't have like selections you make for quality, balanced, and performance. You got to use a resolution slider here. So we're going to go down to 66%, which is equivalent to FSR4 quality. So let's go ahead and test that now. All right, we're back in the game again here, and now using FSR4 quality with cinematic settings. Our FPS is about 55 here to start with, so let's start our run and see how it goes. The lighting effects I think have improved again. Again, we set it back to cinematic, and you can see some of those, like that rock over there has got a little bit brighter color, brighter light on it than the one over here and on the side. So it's bringing back some of that detail, as well as his clothing is not all just flat shaded. Depending on where you're looking and how he's positioned, you'll see some different shading effects. So it looks good. And performance is really good. We're getting 60 FPS, or I saw 60 FPS for a second there. FSR4 qualities looking to be doing a really good job here. go check out some trees and see what we can see. All right, with FSR4 quality, looking good so far. Again, we're running this at 66%, which is going to be FSR4 quality. Not noticing any shimmering. That is the biggest problem with upscaling, especially FSR3 is notorious for that. That's why we're choosing to use just FSR4 straight from the start over here. Down in the water, we're seeing about 45 FPS now, so dipping down again here, but still above where we were when we adjusted down from cinematic and we're using 4K native resolution, so we're seeing a little bit better performance. Is that shimmer? Nope, that looked good. Aye. Game looking really good here. See how the grass holds up with FSR4 quality. Yep, looking good. Not seeing any shimmering. It's pretty impressive there. All right, so let's go ahead and finish our run here. Water effects still the same. Same issues as well. Lighting looks good. All right, and got about, we're averaging about 50 FPS here now. So a little bit of a boost from our previous run. So not too bad, not too shabby. So let's go ahead and try the next upscaling method. All right, so that was FSR4 quality. Now we're going to go ahead and bump this down a little further. So we're going to now go from quality to 58%, and this should give us FSR4 balanced. All right, so now we're running FSR4 balanced mode. And starting out here about 60 FPS. Let's see how well this holds up. Actively getting about 65, 67 FPS. Shimmering looks good. The planks of wood here look good. CPU utilization at about 16%. CPU utilization is, some of those cores are about 40%. So you know, it looks like they're not heavily utilized, but there are a couple of cores that are. GPU, of course, sitting at 99%. Just checking out the trees here. Pretty dense amount of trees. I'm not seeing any shimmer, so that's good too with FSR4 balanced here right now. And right now we're about 50, 55 FPS average. Let's go down to the water. All right, starting our run here. Again, we're down to about the 40s again. A few FPS above where we were before, but pretty close with balanced here. Frame time is really smooth, not noticing any stuttering or anything like that. The grass over here is holding up under balanced pretty good as well. This really is a breathtaking game. You don't really at these FPS ranges, you're kind of, this game isn't very fast paced, is what I'm trying to say. So you don't really need too high of an FPS. But we'll test the upscaling methods just to see what we can get. So that was our run. We got about 53 FPS average there under FSR4 balanced. So let's go back now and reset and check the last FSR4 setting. So we're going to move from 57 or 58 FPS or resolution that was giving us FSR4 balanced. We're now going to go down to 50%. This is going to give us FSR4 performance. Starting out pretty good here, pretty high FPS average. Let's move to the run and see how things look. I think this game is pretty well optimized. I'm not seeing a lot of issues even with the upscaling methods, you would expect some issues. And I'm not noticing, like, this is, FSR4 performance right now, which is giving us a 1080p internal resolution, and then it's upscaled to 4K. And you would expect some blurriness with that, even with a 4K monitor, but I am not seeing that. Everything is really sharp. They've done a really good job in optimizing, surprisingly, right? Unreal Engine 5 optimized to run really well in this case. And the gameplay is very smooth. Still not noticing any shimmering in any of these trees. CPU utilization keeps ticking up just a bit as upscaling does put more of a load onto the CPU as opposed to the GPU. The GPU is remaining at about 99% load, and the CPU is about 15-16%. Here the FPS drops a bit, but we're still above 50, with our average about 49. Water reflections and everything like that still look good, still look very detailed. You can see those ripples, they're very well defined. Let's see how the grass does under this higher upscaling method. Looks pretty good. Not seeing any weird graphical issues with that. We'll of course still see the issue with the reflections, whatever. All right, so that was our run and everything looks great. Again, no real issues noted throughout the run there. FPS average about 58 58 FPS, 57 FPS now. So that was a pretty good run. The upscaling methods here are holding up great. So if you're happy with 60 FPS, you're kind of right where you would want to be. And but what if you have a higher resolution monitor or higher refresh rate monitor and you wanted to really get at or above 100 FPS? Let's see if frame generation will get us there. We'll go ahead and reset our character and test it out. So we're going to go ahead and keep FSR4 at 50% resolution scaling, so leaving it at performance mode. We were very close to 60 FPS on average there, so now we're going to go ahead and enable frame generation, and we'll see if it can get us to that magical 100 plus FPS. Ah, there we go. All right, so now we're running FSR4 again, performance with frame generation and settings at cinematic, and we are getting over 100 FPS right now with the 7900 XTX. It's performing great here in this game. See how well it holds up. Okay, I'm noticing one issue. If you guys can see that tree right through there, through the center of that opening, when I'm moving towards it, the shadows are flickering. I don't know if you guys are going to pick that up, but I'm seeing that. That's probably just frame generation and Lumen fighting over how shadows should work. But it's not flickering as far as like a shimmer or something like that, but it's definitely flickering. The shadows are flickering. It's only happening when the character is moving. But you are getting really high FPS now. Trees look good. No shimmer again. Let's go down to the water. About 99 FPS actively right now. Okay, so now in the water, it's going to dip us down. We're getting about 90 FPS. So we lost about 20 FPS coming through the water here. It's pretty, must be a pretty intense scene to run. And if you'll notice, GPU utilization has also dropped to about 96-95% utilized for the GPU. The 7900 XTX is not really fully loaded anymore, and I would suspect that's probably due to the CPU running at about 20% utilization. But if you notice the individual cores, a few of them are sitting at above 30 percentage used, if in I think one or is even at 40-50. So even though the overall utilization is lower, the individual cores themselves seem to be seeing more of a load, which is probably bottlenecking the GPU just a bit here. And frame generation and upscaling both have their own overhead. And so this would be expected, but it's a pretty much more significant hit than I would have thought. And as far, okay, so as far as our, there's some ghosting a little bit when he's jumping, but the reflection issue seems to have been resolved by frame generation. All right, frame generation, you figured out how to handle the reflections, taught Lumina thing or something. I don't know, but those odd shadows are mostly gone. There's still ghosting around the character with this high upscaling and frame generation, but the egregious really, noticeable loss of reflection around the character is gone now. So that's our run. That's about 100 FPS average. So if you got a high refresh rate monitor, we got really close there. Didn't get quite to 120, but this is pretty good. All right, so now it's going to be time for the big daddy of all tests, the test that will probably melt or set fire to my GPU, poor 7900 XTX here. We're going to go ahead and enable full ray tracing. Let's go ahead and reset the character and go from there. So to run full ray tracing, here's what we're going to do. We're not just going to blast this thing with everything maxed out because I can verify for you that that is just not going to work. That's a bad idea. If you like your FPS to be in the single digits, that's what you'll do. So we're not going to do that. So we're going to keep the FSR4 resolution at 50%, giving us FSR4 performance. We're going to keep frame gen off because with low FPS, you don't want to turn that on. That's just going to make things significantly worse. As for ray tracing, we'll go ahead and turn that on, and we're going to actually set it to very high. We can't keep these as cinematic as much as we might want. I don't think that's going to work, so we're just going to go ahead and blast it with, let's go ahead and, yeah, we'll blast it with high, and we'll take a look and see how the system performs. This also requires a restart of the game. So I'll go ahead and do that now, and I'll see you guys on the other side. Get ready to hold on to your butts, guys. All right, the game has been restarted and we're back in. Let's go ahead and get FSR4 implemented. All right, FSR4 is now running in the game, and we are running FSR4 performance. We have full ray tracing turned on, set to very high, and our regular settings cranked down to high. Well, performance is it is what it is. The GPU is at 100% already, and the CPU doesn't know what to do with itself because it's so busy waiting for the GPU. Has nothing to do, guys. But I can say this much: the scene looks significantly improved. I might just actually run this with full ray tracing. Okay, no. The 7900 XTX is really struggling here. Let's go ahead and get our run started. This is not, ooh, and there's some serious ghosting. Pretty bad ghosting I'm noticing with the character, but we are using high settings, so maybe that's the cause of the problem there. But let's see how the game renders. Again, shadows, shadow quality, light quality, it's all improved. I can see in the top of the structure here, even that's looking better. It's more realistic lighting there on the roof based on the shadow cast by the rock face there on the cliff. It's pretty good. FPS though is atrocious at 19, 18. I'm sure once we get into the water, that's going to take a nosedive. The GPU, the 7900 XTX, it just doesn't have the horsepower to run full path ray tracing here. This is an extremely detailed game. Even under high, when we reduced it down a number of settings to high, we're still getting a significant amount of detail in the game, and I think it's just having a really hard time with that. If you guys have if anybody watching this, if you have a 9000 series graphics card, 9060, 9070 from AMD, you'll probably experience better performance with full ray tracing than those of us with the 7900 XTX, as those do have improved and beefed up RTX or RT cores. The 7900 XTX is doing this with the little bit that it has. As you can see, temperatures on the GPU are not bad at 78 degrees Celsius. So 100% load, I would expect that to be in the 80s, and it's not, because I don't think it's the main GPU that's the problem. It's the ray tracing cores of the 7900 XTX that's really being hammered here. The water looks fantastic, even though it's not a smooth flowing water due to the low FPS, but hey, anything that's stationary looks fantastic, guys. Once you start moving, the illusion is shattered. 15 FPS now in this area, jeez. Yeah, I don't think there's going to be much we can do. This water looks fantastic now, though, and the reflections in it are significantly improved. Yep, for sure. Very detailed reflections there, you can see. And of course, the issue with the reflections being cast a shadow on by the character, that seems to be how that seems, or obviously has been removed. Lighting effect here too is even better. I can see more detail inside the building as the light from both sides is lighting up this area better, something that Lumen could not really handle very well. But right now, again, our average FPS is 17 FPS. I don't really want to push it down any farther than this. Setting full ray tracing to medium, from what I understand, is a pretty significant loss in quality of the ray tracing. It's really, if you're going to turn it down that low, then you might as well not even use it at all, even with just medium. So I think this is going to be the best that we can get out of full ray tracing. The GPU tried. The 7900 XTS gave it its best effort and fell flat on its face. That's fine. So thanks for joining me and then look at this game versus the 7900 XTX. I hope you guys enjoyed the content. Like and subscribe if you did. Hope to see you guys in the next video. I'm Mr. MCP76 signing out. See you later.